What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Discipline Priest. I recorded this video multiple times and it was always too long, so I'm going to try to get right to the point here. We're going to talk about what is wrong with this priest. Why is it consistently underperforming in this season? I guess consistently is not the right word. It was actually good earlier on in PvP. But just so you know, this is a video geared towards this priest as a whole, not just PvP, but my experience is majority PvP, so that is where I'm gearing more of my thoughts. But I'd love to hear from anyone who does Mythic Rating or high-end Mythic Plus in, what the differences are and what would you like to see fixed. The reason I'm making this video is we did see a post about a week ago that said that they are going to be working on changing some of this talents. As well as some tuning adjustments because they are underperforming. I don't know if they are underperforming in PvE. They didn't seem that bad in Mythic Plus, at least. I would imagine rating feels a little bit weird, but Disc is definitely underperforming in as a whole in PvP. So I thought I'd make a video going over the problems with it and maybe potential fixes that we could see. I don't know who sees these videos, but let me just start off with the positive really quick. I am having so much fun. I am like addicted to playing this class, especially when it comes to playing full haste. Like, it is awesome. This is the best version of Disc I've played. I haven't played Disc for that long. Legion was probably the end of Legion is the first time I started playing Disc, and I've kind of played it more sporadically since then. But this is like by far my favorite version. Just because of how fast-paced it is, how strong Atonement can be, and just the variety in the damage rotation is just awesome. So I really don't dislike Disc at all, but if we are going to be seeing some changes, I would like to, maybe we could put out some information for someone else to talk about, basically. So from my perspective, the biggest problems that we are seeing currently with Disc is that it has low throughput, lack of recovery heals, and it has a clunky quote-unquote burst healing. And when I refer to the burst healing, it's like it's non-existent for regular healing. It's more like the damage rotation, and that's something I have noticed in PvE is more so an issue. So these are the three inherent problems that I was trying to base off of, and I'm gonna go over some possible solutions for these. Okay, so potential fixes. We could have strength. This guy loves the Mog. Potential fixes. So first one here, stronger straight up casts. Again, a lot of these are geared towards PvP, but feel free to chime in on anything PvE wise. Potentially stronger healing off Penance. I definitely think Penance definitely feels a little underwhelming when you're using it on your teammate. It feels more than fine on damage. I've done some humongous 250k penances offensively with all the modifiers. I don't think Penance needs more damage, but it does feel rather weak when you use it on your teammate. Maybe there's some sort of like when you use it offensive, you get the damage plus the Purge of the Wicked spread. Maybe there's something you can do to something they can do to Penance to make it have a benefit of healing a target, or just try to make it heal more. Or even someone in my chat recommended like a ramping penance, like if you can hold the whole penance off, the last hit is like bigger or whatever, which is an interesting idea. Flash heal buff, so you can straight up buff flash heal, but I think would be even more useful is just buffing Darkness Comes Light. So from Darkness Comes Light is this. So each time your dots tick, it stacks up. So when you have a full stack of this, flash heal heals a ton. Heals so much. And it would be nice to have like more of a rewarding feeling of getting this off, and this would give us a really good recovery heal, especially if you have flash heal procs, like just one massive flash heal not tops your team up, but there's like a massive heal on it. And I think it'd be cool because it's rewarding you for keeping up your dots and doing the right thing rotationally, and it's rewarding. And the idea maybe this could ramp twice as fast in PvP. I don't know. Or you could straight up buff flash heal because that'll buff this as well. But those are two ideas in terms of casted heals. Next one here, some sort of recovery type cooldown. So this is more of a PvP problem, that there is no NS type ability. Power Life just seems like it's very underwhelming, and maybe Power Life could be the answer to fix this, having a recovery heal. So like for example, for Disc, if you guys have played in PvP, let's say you get you're playing a hunter and a priest, they stun you, intimidation stun into full trap, into full fear, and now you need to do something out of that. What are you doing now? You press Power Life if they're low, and then maybe Radiance, and then have to spam heal, and it takes about like what 7 to 10 heals to top somebody in dampening. Like, it's crazy how weak it is, when other classes like an Evoker could Echo, Verdant Embrace, top a target. A Druid could Rejuve, Swiftmend, and NS, top them. And you know, you're out here fucking struggling for your life to get someone to 50%. And you know, Holy Priests have Serenity, Monks have Life Cocoon and Revival, Shamans have NS as well. They have Ascendance. Every single spec has a fat recovery heal, and Disc doesn't. And that is the biggest weakness, I think, from Disc, because you lose all momentum. So my suggestion was potentially a Power Word Life rework, just to prevent Blood and Bloat, because I think if we do, I think we do got to be careful with adding in new abilities. We are kind of pushing on the abilities at the moment, and more abilities on top of what we currently have might just be a little bit much, because Disc is not an easy spec whatsoever at the moment. It's a little bit confusing, so I think they should be careful about adding new abilities, but it would be cool, you know. Maybe Power Life could be like a 1 to 2 minute cooldown that's like a big heal, and it heals even more if they're below 35. I don't like if they do want, and then also on that side note, if they do want to keep Power Life, I really think that should not be usable under 35% health. There are too many DPS classes in the game that have passive healing that, you know, they're at 28% health, you see it light up, you go to press it, by the time that you press it, that guy has a passive regen heal and now he's 31% and you just wasted your cooldown. It feels terrible. I think there's so much self-healing in this game for this to be an ability that's usable under 35 or above 35. It's fine the way it is if it just wasn't even pressable. It should only be pressable under 35. Just my opinion on that one. And you feel free to not agree with anything I said. This is very opinionated. Just kind of my thoughts. Next one here, Mastery. So this is not an issue in PvE, but this is a massive problem in PvP, man. This is a problem across so many healers, actually, because healers are just forced to basically run Mastery because the throughput is so, you need the highest throughput possible. The rest of the Druids don't even run Verse anymore. They're running all Verse or Haste Mastery pieces because the damage is so high, and it is simply the only way to make the class heal the higher rating DPS, which is quite sad because versatility is the PvP stat, and that's every piece of PvP gear has Verse on it, and you can't even run Verse because it's not enough for some specs, which is really sad to see. And Mastery makes shields makes a lot of stuff requirement, right? So Rapture is basically rendered useless without Mastery. If you do not run Mastery, when you press Rapture, it's like a 40k shield, maybe 50k shield if you're, you know, if you're a little bit higher if you're playing Aegis of Wrath. If you are not playing Aegis of Wrath and you're not playing Mastery, this is like literally like a 30 to 50k shield, which is less. It's like less than, I don't even know, than like your flash shield at that point. Like, there's no point of even pressing it. The point that you end up pressing it just to keep up atonements and give you a little speed buff. So I really hate that idea. I don't think this is ever going to happen, but nerfing Mastery, buffing healing by percentage, I think this is a change that could go across the board with a lot of healers. Rest of the Druids, Holy Priests are two big ones that you are actually unplayable without Mastery. But just a thought on that. That's more of a PvP issue. Next one here, Shadow Covenant. Shadow Covenant has been a problem for years at this point. And either remove the ability and give us something new, or I would like, if they did want to keep it, make it off GCD for one. It's too clunky. Reduce the mana cost because it doesn't work in PvP because it's too mana intensive and you can't even afford to use it. Because it does have good increased healing, but at the cost of all your mana. Increase healing in the terms of casted heals. So the idea would maybe be convert Flash Heal to Shadow Mend, so that you do get the 20. So basically, you would make Flash Heal 25% more during that. That would be a good burst cooldown. Yes, you have to cast it, but it would give you the opportunity to recover. Like if I get CC'd, I get out of the CC, I pop Shadow Covenant, and then I can start Shadow Mending my team, and it could top my team up. And it would have counterplay. You could CC it. You have to kick the cast. It has counterplay, but it would be nice to just have something to recover, because it's not even like getting kicked is a problem. It's you literally can't recover as much as you can. So, you know, those are ideas with Shadowman. I think Shadowman's just been weird for years now, and they just can't seem to get it right. I like the idea of it being, you know, embracing the shadow part of Disc, but it just doesn't feel right. Something is still off with it. So my suggestion would be that, to add this, make it off GCD, reduce the mana cost, and convert it to Shadow Mending. It's a lot. That would be an absolute massive buff. Maybe not all those things, but at least the Shadow Mend part would make it nice to have a recovery heal. All right, Dead Talents, moving on. to this is going to be definitely more geared towards PvP, but there's a lot of quote-unquote dead talents that if they did want to revamp some talents, these are some things they could look at. Palm is just too weak for Disc. It's really sad to see. For when you have to, if you do play Palm, this is absolutely mandatory, which is unfortunate. Mandatory talents don't feel good, but Palm in general is just not strong. Palm for Holy Priest will do, you know, anywhere from like, I know they have other talents and stuff that work around it, but like 15 to 20% of your healing, versus Disc where it's like 4 to 5. And you know, from back in the day, Disc was the Palm spec, I believe, right? Like in like Wrath and stuff, like that was when Palm was really good. And it just feels so underwhelming. It doesn't even feel good to press. I personally don't play it. I know there are priests that do play it, but maybe in 3s, like, but in 2s it's just pointless because it jumps once for 7k. I'm gonna press something for 5k mana to do 7k healing when I have 500k health. Like, it's just bad. It's just bad. There's dots that tick stronger than that. But yeah, feels worthless. Next one, Holy Nova. I personally think this should be baseline. Maybe they can make the Rhapsody a talent to make it better, but it does feel weird as a class as a whole that you have 0 AoE abilities. That you know, that you go back to do an old raid and you don't have any AoE abilities to kill the mobs. It does feel weird that the class has 0 AoE baked into it for damage. And for a Discipline Priest, I feel like you should be able to do something, but anyway, it doesn't need to be a thing. But regardless, Holy Nova just does seem extremely underwhelming. It's completely useless in PvP. I think people use Rhapsody and Mythic Plus, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it seems pointless. Maybe they can do something to it to make it stronger or whatever. Make Rig Rhapsody actually good in PvP. Or Holy, maybe they have to buff the baseline to make this good. Words of the Pius, and I pronounce it. That's this one over here. There is just no point in ever taking this. After casting Shield, you get more damage and healing from Smite and Holy Nova. We just talked about Holy Nova being useless. Smite damage sucks as well. No point in doing that. There's just no point in taking the talent ever. Maybe they move this over here and there's a chance that you could take it, but the positioning of it for the effect is just not worth it. The VE talents, so these Sanguine Teachings, Vampiric Embrace, and Sandlin are just all bad for Disc. I think in PvE, I believe you might get use out of VE, but PvP is not, you do not have the opportunity to just spam cast perfect rotations in every single Shadow Covenant. And without, this only works for Shadow Covenant, by the way. Like, without Shadow Covenant, this is useless. But if you do play Shadow Covenant, you almost never have perfect rotations going into it. So it's kind of hard to see. It's really hard to ever get any use out of it. And Leech is bad in PvP as well. So these are pretty much useless. That goes with Void Shield as well. I didn't put that one on there. Void Shield is stupid. Sorry. You can refill your Power Word Shields. Your Power Word Shields probably break in PvP on average within 0.8 seconds. There is just no point in this. Yeah, and this is only shields on yourself. It doesn't even work with shields on your teammates. So absolutely pointless talent that needs to get changed. Divine Star and Halo, little to no damage and healing for the mana cost. I would love to see these being used again, man. I would love to see these being used. You know, Divine Star was really fun back in like MoP, and same was Halo. It had niche uses. It should be like massive heals and like Divine Star was, you know, it's not to be the craziest damage, but it needs to be like at least doubled on damage to make it useful or worthwhile. It's a skill shot that's, you know, that's worse than how many other healers heals in the game. And Halo, not worth the cast and not strong enough. It does 20k. It does probably a little more in PvP with the scaling, but 20k heal. No. No. And yeah, one thing that they did shy away from, maybe they go back to it with a different approach, but in the beta, Divine Star had like an improved Divine Star that when you used it on a teammate, it would silence them. I don't know if it was only in Shadow Covenant or not, but it was like it was like a 3-second silence. Yes, very strong. But that's cool, man. A skill shot interrupt that has never been done in this game before. I feel like that really wouldn't be that OP because you do have to push in. It's only a 27-yard range, and you have to skill shot it. So I don't know. I think that'd be really cool if they could come back to that. I really was so excited for the idea of that, but it unfortunately went away. Okay, improved Mind Games route. This does seem very not useful because these are just too good. Void Shift is just absolutely imperative in PvP. You can't really play without it. Same with Crystal and Reflection. It's so powerful. And Power Life is unplayable, and you know, without. Your healing is just awful. I've tried playing this build. It's not that much damage. And yeah, I think maybe either one, they would have to buff Mind Games up quite a bit to make it actually feel like last season. Maybe they don't buff the damage of it. They buff the healing absorption part of it to make it actually feel like a threat. Like, as a healer, I don't even care about dispelling it. It's 40k damage if I heal through it. Like, if I'm in trouble, I'm just going to heal through it. It's not worth the global to dispel, especially versus, you know, most times you're dealing with Mind Games, there's a VT on the target, so if you dispel it, you end up getting feared anyway, so it's just pointless. So, you know, I was thinking maybe potentially moving the Mindbender build, and this would cause like this would be a massive change for the entire class as a whole. But like, what about the Mindbender spec over here? Like, Mindbender has it kind of applied to Disc and Shadow. Not really wholly, but maybe it could. I don't know, maybe an idea, because these abilities are kind of rough to use for PvP as well. But this just feels very underwhelming. Painful Punishment baseline. So Painful Punishment is the extension of your hot dots when you penance a target. I feel like this would not be harmful to actually have this baseline. Again, these are just ideas. I'm not trying to make the class OP. I really like a balanced game. I'm totally fair with it. On that note, I think the damage should not get buffed. Just saying that. Damage is actually way too high. Not way too high. It's good enough. It does not need to get buffed. But what about Painful Punishment being baseline? I think that would be pretty cool. Being able to extend your dots with... but maybe that's too many interactions with Penance and Purge of the Wicked. I don't know. Oh, on the note of dots, I would love for Purge of the Wicked to not be mandatory. I think it'd be cool to have Shadow Word Pain and have another option. Because this is absolutely mandatory, which makes it annoying. Because if you don't take these talents, you're just throwing the game. The discrepancy between Purge of the Wicked and Shadow Word Pain is absolutely monstrous. There is just no point in ever not taking this. It is such a big difference. It's like a 20% buff to your dots, and they spread. Like, it's just, there's just no point. Maybe Shadow or Pain should just be able to spread or something. Just an idea. Divine Aegis under Reform. Divine Aegis does feel absolutely terrible. For one, nobody runs crit in PvP. I know some people run crit haste in Mythic Plus in PvE, but without crit, even if you did run a crit, these shields are just so low. 5% absorption. Like, maybe in PvE this makes more sense because you're not affected by dampening all the time. But when it comes to dampening, it's just pointless. It doesn't matter. It's actually an irrelevant talent. So I like the idea of it. Maybe it needs to get buffed in PvP. Maybe it just needs to be a one node target, but it you know, across the board in a lot of specs, it does feel bad when there's a talent in between from what you want and you're just mandatory to take it, and it's actually just garbage. I lost some of the talents on here that I put on there. I also had Contrition on there. Contrition is extremely underwhelming. When you heal a target, it heals them for, I think when you get 2 points in this, what, 2400? That feels terrible. 2400 heal is pointless. You're rather, if you use this offensively, you'll heal everybody. So, you know, this kind of ties in with making healing penance more beneficial to heal your target. Maybe Contrition's baseline, I don't know. But this feels really bad because you can penance a target with Atonement up on all your teammates, and it would do like 15x this. Just seems no point in it. Indemnity, no one ever takes this as well. Atonement's granted by Power Word Shield, lasts an additional 2 seconds. Nobody takes this because why would you not take almost doubling the duration of your biggest cooldown for 2 seconds more on your shield on Atonement? You're pressing shield on cooldown, your Atonements almost never fall off. So pointless talent again. And lastly, the Mindbender stuff, I kind of briefly mentioned already, but Mindbender does feel a little bit lackluster in PvP. This Mindbender could work if you had full opportunity to just straight up cast all the time, but you don't. So it really definitely struggles in terms of that, because if you just need to be able to cast that a lot, and you never get a perfect scenario where you could just spam cast every single Mindbender, and for that reason, it's not worth taking. And then next here, PvP talents. I just want to briefly touch on this. So PvP talents. Let me put these on here so you can see these. The ones that I did want to talk about. So the big ones that I would love to see change. Trinity, I don't know why this is still the way it is. This doesn't make sense in Dragonflight. Atonement's duration is increased by 15 seconds, but you can only apply your power word shield. This talent was usable and viable back when shields didn't have a cooldown. So you were actually able to, you know, shield, and have the buff right away. Now at this point, you have to wait 15 seconds to get the buff, and then you have to perfectly keep up your atonements on every target. Otherwise, they're going to fall off, and you're going to lose it, and it just doesn't work. You know, maybe an idea for it would be to like maybe get rid of the top part. So when you have 3 atonements up, your smite, penance, and shadow fiend have increased crit chance. Maybe that's an idea, or just change the talent completely. I think, or just get rid of it. I don't know. I wish that Trinity was really fun to use back in the day. So I do hope that they could fix it. Strength of Soul does feel extremely underwhelming. Like I said, if you're not playing the one specific build of full mastery, full shields, your shields break almost immediately, and this is pointless. The shields, like I said, are, you know, in dampening, they're like 30 to 40k, which doesn't matter with the damage reduction, they'll just break instantly. So many classes have non-strength, non-physical abilities as well. So, but you know, maybe this is after you press power word shield, they get physical damage reduction after maybe it has to be like 10%, but for like 5 seconds or something like that. But I don't like the as the shield persists because the shields break. Ultimate Radiance, I've hated this talent for many years now. It just feels, because it's just a mandatory pick at this point. And mandatory picks do not feel good. It's actually unplayable without this. In 3s, 2s, you can get away without it, but I don't know, man. Maybe they should get rid of one of the charges of Radiance and make it instant all the time. But that would probably have implications in PvE. But I don't know. I think Ultimate Radiance is just, it sucks that this is mandatory for literally years. You've have to run this talent in competitive PvP, which doesn't feel good. You have so many other good talents. Archangel's really cool. Dark Arc's cool. Thought's Eye is cool. Inner Light Shadow's cool. Absolute Fate's cool. All of these talents have good use, but you're stuck with this one because you have to take it. Purification as well. And then on the note, Inner Light and Shadow, I do wish this was baseline. I think this should be baseline. It was baseline in the beta, but they ended up changing that. I wish they could go back to that. Yeah, I feel like there's no reason not to. And it should be like a stance that doesn't, maybe that's off GCD. That'd be really cool. That'd be fun to use, but again, a little bit more complex. I don't know if they want to get that complex, but I think this should just be like a stance. Yeah, like I think that'd be cool. Well, like the old chakras for Holy Priest, right? Yeah, I think that's all the talents there. And then, you know, just lastly, reduce the amount of 2-point talent nodes in the dish tree. So that could apply to the class tree as well, but it wouldn't be as effective. You know, like, I see what they were doing. They just wanted 2-point nodes across the board here. Literally everything is 2 points here. But as you've seen in the recent Holy Paladin tree and some other trees now, they are really cutting back on the 2-point nodes because it's restricting so much. So maybe they can reduce the 2-point nodes because, you know, if there's a world where I can take all of these talents here and then also get into Aegis of Wrath, different story. This becomes way more powerful. So, you know, if there is a world that we can reduce the 2-point trees, that would be a huge buff in itself, and maybe you don't need to do you know, as many buffs as necessary. Just, this is kind of a problem across a lot of specs though, that I've seen like every spec that's gotten reworked, they've cut back on 2-point nodes at the bottom, which has allowed for more build diversity and stronger builds. So all right, well, 23 minutes, not bad. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I've just been ranting at this point, but I love talking about this stuff. If you guys do have any more insight, especially from a PvE perspective, I would love to hear it. Maybe some changes that I have. And, you know, of course, this was this is mostly an opinion video, so don't take it too seriously if you don't agree. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day and see you in the next one. Peace out.